Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Executive Lobby at the Office of the Prime Minister. May I ask those who seem to want to get lost at the back to please come up. Minister Vaz, I see you sitting way at the back. Please come on up. And those who are at the rear seats, please. For those who also need to be at the head table, may I invite you to be seated at the head table at this time? It's absolutely lovely to see everyone here today. Mr. Hunter, your seat is here as well. Mr. B, I believe you also need to be on the platform. Wonderful. I still see some people sitting at the back who probably need to come up a little bit. We will begin momentarily once the Prime Minister comes in. We do apologize for the delay in starting. We had just a few glitches that on an overcast morning I think we really should expect. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. Prime Minister, at the head table, please. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the playing of the national anthem. Thank you. Please remain standing as Reverend Captain Asta Carlisle will begin with prayer.
Let us pray. Eternal Father, on this new day, we marvel at the truth that you have been so good to Jamaica. Negril Point to Morant Point have been gently washed by your grace and mercy, and our people have been beneficiaries of your loving kindness. Our lands and legislature, the arenas of culture and commerce, industry and intellectual capacity, our spirituality, our sporting agility, our social acuity, all point to your unique favor upon us. Lord, you have made Jamaica proud and strong. We praise you for that spark within us that causes us to create new paths for the improvement of our common life. Today we place before you this Spark program and pray your grace and guidance upon all who will work so that its ends may be achieved. May they not be overwhelmed by the weight of national expectation, but rather commit themselves to prudence, diligence, and integrity. Hallow our gathering with your presence today, and grant that our efforts at improving our road network will strengthen our resolve to tighten the human network through love, justice, and peace. Since it is your desire that we all experience the flourishing of life, help us to trust in your ways and to surrender to your will, so that through our living and our serving, Jamaica will, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. We pray in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Carlisle. Everyone, you may be seated. And it was indeed a prayer and a charge this morning. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. In our midst this morning as well, the Most Honorable Juliet Holness, Speaker of the House of Representatives and Chairman of the Constituency Development Fund Parliamentary Subcommittee. The Honorable Desmond McKenzie, the Minister of Local Government and Community Development. The Honorable Robert Morgan, Minister without portfolio with responsibility for works, and other government ministers present, public officials, heads of agencies, government bodies, Attorney General, the Cabinet Secretary, Financial Secretary, Permanent Secretaries, heads of agencies, members of Parliament, Everett Warmington, I see Mr. Michael Phillips here, as well as Anthony Hilton. Good morning to you. Stakeholder program participants, Mr. Dangram B., Country Manager of China Harbor Engineering Company, CHEC, other specially invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. No, man, good morning. Good morning. Oh, you frightened me a minute. I thought no one was in the room, and so many beautiful faces are here. Thank you so much for being here with us at the Office of the Prime Minister. You know, I'm tempted to break out in song to the Etta James version of At Last. Okay, I didn't get that quite right. Man, our roads will be fixed very, very soon. The government of Jamaica is pleased this morning to ensure that the shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network Spark project is finally signed. The contracts will be signed, $45 billion. It's historic, the largest ever in the history of Jamaica in terms of a road improvement project to be in our island. So we are absolutely happy about that. To give a quick overview and to bring remarks, may I invite then the Minister without portfolio in the office, well, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Robert Morgan, who will be with us, and he will offer some remarks. Minister?
Thank you very much, Naomi, and I want to acknowledge our distinguished guests, my colleagues, and our friends, and also those on social media and traditional media who have tuned in for this very important contract signing. It is my great pleasure to address you today at this official signing of contracts for the shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network Spark project. This moment represents a pivotal step in our nation's journey towards transformation, development, and connectivity. Allow me to begin, though, by extending my deepest gratitude to the Most Honorable Prime Minister for his visionary leadership and steadfast commitment to advancing Jamaica's infrastructure. Prime Minister, your guidance, clear strategic direction has been instrumental in bringing Spark, a $40 billion infrastructure initiative bolstered by an additional $5 billion in water infrastructure, to this historic juncture. Your leadership has sparked a bold vision for development. I remember when Prime Minister appointed me as Minister without portfolio. He said to me, get Spark going, focus on Spark, and I want to thank him for his confidence that he reposed in me to get it here where it is from a policy perspective. I also want to thank the Constituency Development Fund, who led the initial stages in collaboration with the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. They visited over 63 constituencies. Mrs. Kadisha Rochester, the work that you did along with your team was significant. Also, Minister Desmond McKenzie, thank you very much for the work you did as well. I must also recognize the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. There were many nights, long nights, where we were wondering if CHEC would accept the submission to the addendum. But I will say to you that CHEC worked with us along with my Permanent Secretary to ensure that the submissions came to Cabinet, they were passed, so that Spark could now become a reality. I think the Attorney General is here. I remember going to him one day in Cabinet and said, where is the approval? And he called me and said, we sent that last week. And I said to him, well, I thought you guys were as late as you usually are, but thank God we are seeing changes, positive changes. The National Works Agency also deserves significant thanks, led by Mr. E.G. Hunter, as well as his able collaborator, Mr. Varden, down on the staff at the National Works Agency. It has been a very long journey, and the expertise and diligence of designing and managing this project is something that the NWA should be proud of. The Ministry of Finance was also instrumental. I'm not going to call names because it was so many persons there who ensured that we got the necessary approvals, who ensured that we got the necessary financing so we can announce this project today. But the most important variable in this equation, the people of Jamaica. When the CDF visited these constituencies, the people came out in their numbers and they came with their roads. They were very prepared and they were able to give you details as to the roads that they wanted and what they needed to be done on their roads. Assisted by their members of parliament and their councillors, they were able to give us insights and recommendations to determine the priority roads for rehabilitation. And I want to thank them, the people of Jamaica, for their contribution. And this project reflects their input and the needs that they articulated. The Spark project is more than a road improvement initiative. It is a cornerstone of the Aspire Jamaica framework aimed at heralding the next chapter in Jamaica's infrastructural development. By improving secondary and community roads, drainage systems, water infrastructure, this project will create safer, more accessible pathways, driving economic opportunities and enhancing the quality of life for all Jamaicans. I did mention water infrastructure. This project is $40 billion in infrastructure works, plus another $5 billion to improve water infrastructure. And I see the National Water Commission here, who have been partnering with the National Works Agency under the guidance of Minister without Portfolio, Matthew Samuda, to ensure that we do not build roads and then dig them up after to lay pipes. So that's one concern that the public doesn't have to worry about. It's a whole of government collaborative approach to ensure that when we finish a road, it can last 10 to 15 years. As I stand here today, this signing is a testament to what can be achieved when vision, collaboration, and dedication converge. This is a transformational initiative that will not only connect communities, but also serve as a symbol of hope and progress for future generations. To everyone who was involved, thank you for your invaluable contributions of making today a reality. Together, we're lighting a path towards shared prosperity, a brighter Jamaica. Let us continue to work together as one unified in our mission to build a nation, sparking a brighter future for all Jamaicans. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Minister, thank you so much. You know, I think Jamaicans may not necessarily be aware of the heavy lifting that went on to ensure that today becomes a reality. It really is a process of joined-up government where all the agencies were speaking together, where they consulted communities, and based on the directive of the Prime Minister, that everyone has a stake in this whole process. I see, Mr. Hilton, we went to Western St. Andrew first in terms of the consultations. Minister Mackenzie was there, the CDF was there to ensure that we heard directly from the people and we incorporated their views as well. So, Minister, thank you so much for your leadership. Prime Minister, thank you too, and thank you to all the stakeholders involved. Another major stakeholder, and let me tell you, this company will have a lot to ensure that Jamaicans see delivery over the next few months. China Harbour Engineering, a good partner who's always here with us, Mr. Dangram B., the country manager, will now speak with us. Mr. B.
The Honorable Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Andrew Holness, representative from Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Ministers of Government and Parliament, my colleagues from CHEC, and special invited guests, good morning. As a representative from China Harbour, I'm honored to be part of this significant occasion, the signing of agreement between Government of Jamaica and CHEC for the shared prosperity through assessment and improvement to our road network, SPARK project. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to the government and the people of Jamaica for entrusting us with development of this transformative initiative. The SPARK project, encompassing 4 comprehensive packages, will be executed to the highest international standards of design and construction. These packages cover critical regions across Jamaica. Once completed, this road network will ease congestion, improve connectivity, and unlock unprecedented economic opportunities along these corridors, supporting sustainable growth for all Jamaicans. At CHEC, we are fully committed to using our strong engineering skills to support the development of this region. During the SPARK project, we will work closely with local contractors and workers, sharing and communicate our knowledge and skills. This is a part of our ongoing efforts to build lasting partnership in Jamaica and help improve its infrastructure and workforce. This agreement represents a major step forward in cooperative and mutual beneficial relationship between CHEC and Jamaica. I extended my sincere gratitude to all who contribute to making this moment possible. While many have played important roles, I must especially thank you, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Andrew Holness, for your visionary leadership and dedication to national development, as well as esteemed member of Cabinet. Together, we're looking forward to deliver a project that will truly share prosperity across the island. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. B, for your efficiency in your address. You know, the Prime Minister has been speaking about, you know, the number of ceremonies that we've had to do, and he's made sure to ensure that, one, we get more efficient with our salutations, and so I'm sure that you would recognize that most of the speakers who come up just adopt the salutations. He's also very keen on action, doing the thing, instead of sitting down in ceremonies. And so you'll realize that he's the next speaker, and we've really been having a brief ceremony so far. Ahead of the Prime Minister coming, though, Prime Minister, you had promised the people of Jamaica, you committed, and it's being delivered now. May I invite Minister Morgan? We have for everyone in Jamaica and those here at the Office of the Prime Minister, we're launching the sparkjamaica.gov website. And so, Minister, if you could go through the website and explain ahead of the Prime Minister coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Thank you, Naomi. So the sparkjamaica.gov.jm website is a brand new website, thanks to the quick work of the Jamaica Information Service in collaboration with the National Works Agency. The website has various components. It will give you all the information about the Spark program. It will give you also historical information such as news and so on. One of the important aspects of the website is a document center, where it will give the public access to all publicly available documents related to the Spark program. For example, the contract that we're signing is a public document, so it can go on the website. The roads that will be repaired will go on the website. We'll also put on the website eventually all the roads that we have assessed under Spark will also go, as well as the length of roads in parishes and several other documents, so that the public will have a very easy access to the information. One of the most important documents that will be on the website is actually the governance framework. The National Works Agency has come up with a governance framework. It was approved by Cabinet, which will govern how the Spark program is executed and how the accountability in the Spark program will be manifested. What's the responsibility of the enterprise contractor, which is China Harbour Engineering? What's the responsibility of the owner of the contract, which is the government of Jamaica? What is the responsibility of the National Works Agency? What is the responsibility of the consultants who have been chosen? Do remember that this was an international tender where not only was an enterprise contractor chosen, but we're also now in the final stages of choosing consultants for each of the 4 packages. All that information will be on the Spark website. Additionally, we'll be publishing an email address where members of the public will have the ability to write to us and call us as well on all the questions that they may have, all the concerns they may have as it relates to the Spark program. The Prime Minister has given us the instruction that Spark must be transparent and it must give every single Jamaican ownership of the project so that they can feel that this project is not just a government project, but the people of Jamaica's project. Thank you very much, Naomi.
Thank you, Minister. Well done, well done, well done. And so once again, ladies and gentlemen, you can type it in on your phones now. We're in the era of technology. sparkjamaica.gov.jm. You can go on, see when your road is scheduled to be repaired and over how long that will take place. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to steal one of the Prime Minister's lines. The road to development begins with a road. All right, most people know it. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the man who really has led from the front, he really has so many plans and a vision for Jamaica like no other. May I present to you Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Thank you, Madam Master of Ceremony. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to our listeners virtually and those watching online. In 2023, we announced the Shared Prosperity through Accelerated Improvement in Our Road Network, SPARK program, the largest and most comprehensive program in our independent history to improve our road network, including our community roads. This is a massive program that required extensive planning, community-based consultations across the island, as well as an international competitive bidding process. And we are finally at the point today where we will sign the contract for works. I am pleased to report that we have completed all the processes without compromising any guidelines established for good fiscal management, anti-corruption, and transparency. This is something to be celebrated. We have undertaken this massive project in record time and with full compliance. Yes. Through the international competitive bidding process, 8 construction companies responded to the request for pre-qualification. There were 2 local companies and 6 international companies. Only 5 companies, however, were successful at the end of this phase of the process. The request for bid proposal was sent to the 5 pre-qualified construction companies. 4 of the 5 contractors submitted bid proposals for the 4 work packages at the end of August 2024. 2 of those 4 did not make it past this stage, and it was then down to 2 companies. After the evaluation, and consistent with the Public Procurement Act and regulations, we entered into negotiations with the highest ranked bidder, China Harbor Engineering Company was that highest ranked bidder. The government concluded those negotiations on September 30th, 2024. As required under our procurement rules, there had to be what is called a standstill period, where notice of the successful bidder was communicated to all the bidders. This notice period ended on October 11, 2024. I see MP Michael Phillips here, who asked me a question in Parliament: when are we going to name who was the successful bidder? That question was asked maybe 2 or 3 times in debates. And because we wanted to be in absolute compliance with the rules, we did not disclose who the successful bidder was until we had completed what was required of us from a legal standpoint. This then paved the way for the contract to be sent to the Public Procurement Commission, which was done on November 11, 2024. The contract was then approved by the Cabinet on November 25, 2024. The contractor was subsequently issued with the letter of award requesting their insurance and bonds. Upon receipt of these, the contractor will be, upon receipt of these, and I'm hoping that you are going to receive them shortly, if not already, the contractor will mobilize to commence work, which will begin this month. I had committed that it would start within this year. If it could start tomorrow, I'd be the happiest person. I am told that there is a date in mind, but I'm not going to say what that date is. When we are certain, and that can only be when the backhoe is on the site, then we will say we have begun. But the marching order is that the work must begin this month. The construction contracts, that would be in 4 packages, are scheduled for 2 years with an additional year for defects liability period, during which the contractor would carry out any repairs owing to defects. I mean, to put it another way, the contractor would be liable for any defects, which means they would have to pay for it. Today, we will be signing 4 contracts in the aggregated total of $36,590,285 Jamaican dollars. It sounds like a lot. Yes, and it is. So that's $36.04 billion in total. An additional $5 billion will also be spent on water infrastructure, of which $2 billion will be spent on pipes, water mains. So in total, it's about $38 billion will be spent on infrastructure that will be in the ground. The 4 packages are as follows. Package 1, Kingston, St. Andrew, and St. Thomas. Package 2, St. Catherine and Clarendon. Package 3, Manchester, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, and Hanover. And Package 4, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. And that would total, as I had said before, overall approximately $38 billion, 36 applicable to road infrastructure. In terms of a breakdown of what the rehabilitation and water installation contracts could look like, I won't go into all of that detail, that's quite a bit. I have previously explained that the project will be divided into 2 distinct phases. There is a local component, meaning a focus on community roads, and the other component being a focus on main roads. For the purpose of management of this project, the NWA will be responsible for the management and implementation of all works. They will be supported by teams of engineers, consultants, and other technical professionals. So we expect that there will be sufficient oversight of the work of the contractors. I want to make an important point here that it has never always been the case that when we undertake these large projects, that we upfront the development cost, what we call the pre-investment costs, and in that pre-investment cost, build in a cost for supervision, particularly technical supervision. Sometimes we rely on the in-house expertise of the NWA. But the truth is, with all the projects that the NWA is now undertaking, we would not have the standing capacity to supervise these works to the level that would be required to ensure value for money. So a part of the cost is actually a line item for the pre-investment costs, that is to prepare for going to the public investment assessment process. That means we will have to do, if we have not done already, the environmental impacts, the economic and social impacts, in addition to doing the engineering designs, meeting the standards, in addition to the cost of procurement, and then building into that also the constant supervision that is necessary to ensure value for money. And that's quite a tidy sum. That is in excess of $3 billion of the entire $45 billion allocated. So we expect that many of the problems that we ran into in other projects, we will not have it in the SPARK program. I want to spend some time as well to explain to the public, and I find it necessary to do so, because even persons that I think would have the necessary understanding of the project and what we're doing, including members of parliament, seem to believe that this is a road repair routine maintenance program. This is not a routine maintenance road repair program. This is part of the capital budget of Jamaica. And when it comes to capital expenditure, there are certain legal and regulatory requirements that must be complied with. That's number one. And so I think the Jamaican public listening on should understand that the SPARK program is a capital investment. And the difference between regular maintenance and the capital investment is that the capital investment creates entirely new value. That adds to your GDP. There are those who feel that, Prime Minister, you should just take that $45 billion and patch all the roads. There is a certain common sense logic to it. But if you think deeply on the problem, patching the roads is a temporary solution for convenience. It is necessary to do it, but it is not a long-term solution to Jamaica's aged infrastructure. If we were patching the roads as a preemptive measure to a deteriorating infrastructure, then it would make sense. But what we really need to do is to make a substantial improvement, creating new value in our road network. And so that is what the SPARK program is designed to do. Every day I wrestle with people who think short-term, convenience, exigency, and immediate gratification. And, yes, you have to deal with what is the case right now. But you know what has happened to us? Because we are dealing with what is the case right now, what is the case right now becomes the case in the future. And so Jamaica has been dealing with this for the last 40 years because we have been dealing with it in the way that we have done it. My job is to change the way in which we do it and bring the people along with us. So this is the first time that there is this massive allocation of public resources that is going to change the way in which we maintain our roads. So all the cynical people and all the people who believe it won't happen, it has started. It has started. So I want to spend a little time now on the process used to select the roads. And for the first time ever, we introduce public consultation in road selection. Every constituency held a consultation with stakeholders and just average constituents who could come and say, this is my road, I need it fixed. And I want to thank the CDF, Mrs. Campbell Rochester, for the work that was done by that unit in mobilizing and supporting the MPs along with the NWA and local government to ensure that there was a significant level of community participation. And I found it meaningful because as a member of parliament myself, I held my consultation and my constituents came. Some were disagreeable, others were understanding, and others were skeptical, but nonetheless they came, they expressed their views, and created effectively a list of roads that they would like to see repaired. The notes were taken and fed to the NWA, so there is a listing of roads, over 600 roads. Now, there has to be another process when those roads are finally scoped to say how many of the roads that were suggested could actually be upgraded. And the members of parliament, who are the elected representatives of the people, that's what their job is, they would then have to, if they want to hold other consultations or directly with the NWA, determine the roads that are going to be repaired from the lists that came from the consultations. So that process will begin shortly, in fact, very soon. I gather that certain constituencies have been selected to start. I know mine is on the top of the list. No, mine is no, I'm just kidding. My constituency is not on the list. But I do know that St. Andrew Western, which is my neighboring constituency, represented by MP Tony Hilton. He will be the first one in the corporate area. Yes, so he will. So St. Andrew Western will be the first constituency in the corporate area. In rural Jamaica, I believe it is J.C. Hutchinson, that's northwest. That's northwest St. Elizabeth. And then we come back to Kingston, to the urban area. Then we would do St. Andrew Northwestern. And then we go back to the rural area, and it would be Manchester Northwestern as well. And then we come back to Kingston, and it would be St. Andrew East Rural. So that is how we intend to kick off the program. After that, obviously, it's all the roads would begin. I'm very happy to see that the commitment for the website is up. Now, to be clear, the website is there for public information, but there is a phase 2 to it, which we intend to incorporate the public as our eyes and ears. Because, there is a growing public participation through social media, where you see so many things being posted, and you do have to monitor social media because you pick up, many issues that are just placed in the public domain, but they do not necessarily reach the sources of authority to address them. So we do try to survey social media to see what the problems are, and so that we can address them. But there might be a more effective way, which is to offer on the website a platform through which concerned citizens can directly raise their concerns, directly point out shortcomings, call out underperformance to us so that we are able to respond. So this is a way of engaging the public to hold the government, but also the contractors and their subcontractors to account. So the next phase of the development of the website, Minister, is to have that public engagement.
Yes, sir.
I want to thank the Ministry of Local Government for their participation in this program. And we have integrated local government roads in this program as well. We will have to do some gymnastics to have this accomplished, because the legislative structure of our roads is that they are gazetted according to the department of government that has responsibility. So roads that are under the responsibility of local government should only be financed by local government, especially if we are doing capital investments. And therefore, we will have to move some of the roads from the Register of Local Government to the Central Government Registry or Gazette of Roads in order to be in compliance. But of course, we will gladly return them when it is complete. But it does suggest that we need a total reform of how we treat with roads from a legislative perspective, because there are some roads that have no administrative authority in charge of them, and those are called orphan roads. These are roads that are built in housing schemes. These are roads that are built in certain developments, subdivisions that have taken place that were not formally handed over or accepted by the local authority, and they are just there for years, not repaired, because the local government can't spend on them. Otherwise, they would be written up by the Auditor General. So we have to use this as an opportunity to relook at the legislative structure that defines the Register of Roads in Jamaica. And we have started that process with the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. We have a GIS, Geographic Information Systems and Data Management Unit in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and they have done an amazing job in partnership with local government in measuring all the roads. And we are almost complete with measuring all roads, whether they are local government, NWA, farm roads, orphan roads, whatever. We have measured all the roads. So we now have, or will have at the end of this process, a fairly accurate register, including measurement and state of repair of all roads. And that's a good place to start. Once we have that, then we will start to build out a maintenance schedule, a preventative maintenance schedule. So we'll be looking at the roads and determining what roads need to be totally upgraded. And then once upgraded, what is the maintenance schedule that would keep those roads in good repair over a long period of time. And once you have that, then you go to your financial budget. You then begin to understand what is the level of financial allocation that you would have to make to keep the roads in a good state of repair. What has happened to us over these many, many years is that there is a disconnect between the engineered requirement for the maintenance of the road and the fiscal budget, the financial wherewithal to keep the roads maintained at the engineered standard. What we're going to be moving towards now, when we implement Spark, those 600 roads, 660 roads we'll probably do under Spark in total. Those roads will now be placed on their engineered maintenance schedule with a budget to match. And you will find that over time, if you do that, your maintenance budget actually decreases because you are going to be spending less to maintain the newly upgraded road than each year than you would be spending over several years if you did not maintain the road at all. So that is where we're moving towards a new vision, part of the next chapter of Jamaica's development. So, with those words, and I also want to point out that this program started with great effort from MP Warmington, former minister without portfolio. And he was a great advocate for the program, you must know, and worked very hard to ensure that the program reached to a point where Minister Morgan could take it over and carry the baton to the finish. So with those words, I want to thank all who made this possible. And of course, a word to China Harbour. China Harbour has now effectively become a Jamaican company. Essentially, they have been working in Jamaica now for more than a decade. And we have grown to understand their working structures. And there is a very good understanding between the government of Jamaica, government of China, but also between NWA and China Harbour. And they know the quality of work that we expect. It has not always been the case that the quality of work that we expect has been delivered, but the truth is that on these enterprise level contracting, China Harbour has been a very good partner to us. And we expect that this program will be executed with the greatest value for money achieved, with the least discomfort to the residents and citizens of the area. So with those few words, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you. We move now to the contract signing, and then I will return to this podium with a further announcement.
Thank you, Prime Minister. And as I told you, ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister is about efficiency, and we're spending less time in these ceremonies, right? About half an hour, 35 minutes so far, Prime Minister. Well done. All right, so may I invite then the persons with the contracts. We'll do it in 4 phases. And once we get going, please come, we can put the 4. May I invite Mr. Hong Zon Gui, who is the witness for China Harbour, to come to the platform. And as we get settled, may I just point out that I listened to the Prime Minister's speech intently. And, in a period where we have so many people being cynical, what we're witnessing today is really a blueprint on good governance. That there are several government entities that were involved, and there was a critical component of consultation with the people of Jamaica. Every nook and cranny, persons were able to give their opinions and ensure that their voices were heard in this process. So the the Prime Minister will sign, and the Permanent Secretary, the Prime Minister will witness, Prime Minister, yes, the Permanent Secretary will sign, the Prime Minister will witness, and also Mr. B will sign, and Mr. B will sign, Mr. Gui will witness. May I also ask the head of the Constituency Development Fund Subcommittee, Mrs. Holness, also, and one of the opposition members of Parliament, along with Minister Samuda, if you would also be part of the platform persons who would be witnesses. All right. Mr. Phillips? Yeah, okay, come. All right, we have 4 packages to sign, so it's going to be a long haul, just for a few. So again, the Permanent Secretary, Prime Minister witnesses, Mr. B, and his counterpart are also signing.
All right, so let's do the one, that's fine.
So phase 1, projects for phase 1, signed. Package, beg your pardon. And Prime Minister, we can't negate the history of the moment, so if you could just ensure that the photographers get their moment to take their photograph as well.
All right.
Including the ones with cell phones, who are called paparazzi these days. All right, so package 1 is done. We'll now have package 2 to be signed. Package 2?
No, that's it. That's it.
All the packages?
We have more.
All right. 4 packages. All right, so. Indeed, all right. So the Prime Minister has noted that all the packages really are being signed, but we are making sure that for efficiency's sake, that we do the others. So just a quick then signing and handshaking after this, and then the Prime Minister will return with another statement. All right. And of course, a major component, it's okay. A major component is the infrastructure works element. And that is absolutely crucial. So, Prime Minister, at the end, may I ask that both yourself, Mr. B, just exchange documents as well, and shake hands, and then we'll invite you back for your statement. No, stay for me. Stay. The blue folder, bring it, please. It's not like... No, the space is small. So right there is fine. Thank you. Yes. All right. And just for the photographers. Yes. All right. So signed, sealed, delivered, and now we begin the work. Prime Minister, I wanted to say that we're repeating for emphasis again, which, of course, that's not quite proper English, but we're repeating to ensure we have the emphasis. The work will begin this month. We are indeed. All right. And so the Prime Minister will now make another statement, ladies and gentlemen, as we clear the head table. Prime Minister.
All right, thanks everyone. I found an article on the road situation, and I wanted to share it with you, share it publicly. The recent heavy rains have caused significant damage to the country's already deteriorating road network. According to the National Road Council, many national roads have been affected by issues including landslides, flooding, and severe infrastructure damage. We have not yet compiled a comprehensive count of damages, but it's a table we are constantly updating. In the latest review, we have recorded 77 incidents of road damage. Key problems reported: washed out soil, cracked asphalt, and collapsed slopes. Authorities warn that the number of affected roads could increase as assessments continue. Initial cleanup repairs have been estimated, and depending on the severity, these costs could also increase. Engineers and other experts caution that with the continued rainfall and saturated soil, there may be even further landslides and damage exacerbating the crisis. The heavy rains have underscored ongoing challenges with outdated infrastructure and inadequate maintenance. The engineers and architects and the National Laboratory of Materials and Structural Models have repeatedly pointed out these deficiencies, emphasizing that many national roads lack modern engineering designs and preventative maintenance contracts. Successive governments have failed to prioritize infrastructure investment, leaving the country's roads vulnerable to extreme weather. The current damage highlights the long-standing neglect of the road network, which is crucial for Costa Rica's economy and public safety. In other words, this is the exact description of what is happening in Jamaica. I use this to make the point that the public conversation needs to be guided by proper knowledge and understanding of the challenge we face. The old narrative does not apply. Jamaica is not the only country facing this crisis. We have climate change, which is a real issue, and infrastructure that was not built to withstand climate change will fall apart and fail. It is a real crisis in Jamaica because Jamaica's infrastructure for the last 40 years was not invested in a significant way. This is not a 2016 problem. Now, I know what I've just said will go out of everyone's mind once you hit a pothole. And I understand. But I want you to retain the fact that the administration is dealing with the problem in the most effective way it has ever been dealt with. I also want to point out Costa Rica is a country of 5.2 million persons. Their GDP per capita is about $16,500 US. Our GDP per capita is about $7,000 US. Costa Rica's GDP, forgive me if I'm just going by memory, it's about $90 billion. Jamaica's GDP is somewhere in the region of about $16 billion. Costa Rica's debt to GDP ratio is about 61%. Jamaica is 74%. I say this because too often the conversation about maintenance and fixing roads is divorced from the economic capability of the country. Costa Rica, a country that is in a far better position than Jamaica, much larger GDP, they are in the same situation as it relates to their infrastructure. Another side to this story is that Costa Rica is seeking to borrow somewhere in the region of $160 million to repair the 77 roads that was damaged. How much money is Jamaica borrowing?
Zero.
None of the expenditure that we have outlined here today is debt. That is all as a result of the stellar fiscal management of the country's resources. Now, today, I am declaring the road conditions a national emergency. Several things will flow from that. Firstly, it is a signal from a policy perspective to all the executives who have statutory authority as to how they should exercise that statutory authority in treating with the issues that flow from this road crisis that we have. For those who are going to come out of the woodwork to criticize, the government has already allocated a significant sum of resource, $45 billion, that was entirely subject to the procurement legislation in the ordinary way. The government is now announcing a further $2 billion Jamaican dollars to be spent on our main road network for patching and reinstating the roads to drivable condition. This will be done following the law as well, using emergency procurement rules. We expect that the work will begin immediately. There are 21 Grade 1 contractors. The NWA will use the various methodologies approved for emergency procurement to engage those Grade 1 contractors, to mobilize them right across Jamaica to get the patching and reinstatement of roads to drivable conditions done. This is not going to repair every single road. You will note that the government already, since Hurricane Beryl, has spent, using emergency methodologies, significant sums of funds to clear and reinstate roads. But you will also note that since Beryl, it has been almost rain every day. And so the roads have deteriorated far beyond what we had budgeted and reasonably could have expected. It is indeed a crisis, and every Jamaican is of that view, and it should be dealt with as a crisis, as an emergency. We had already allocated $3 billion under the REACH program. That $3 billion was partially MP directed, meaning that it was focused on community roads, and the MPs had some ability to select the roads that were of concern. This program will be entirely nationally directed. So the NWA will supply the cabinet with the list of main roads, main thoroughfares that are severely affected, And we expect that we will use this $2 billion to reinstate that critical network. So it's high-volume traffic areas, critical connecting points, economically sensitive roads that we will give the initial focus on to ensure that, for example, areas that are now slowed up in traffic because cars have to be navigating potholes, and every 30 seconds you spend, additional 30 seconds you spend navigating a pothole, you multiply that by every car that has to navigate that pothole, which increases the waiting time for every citizen. So we're going to make this strategic, deliberate, and direct intervention to ensure that we don't lose any more productivity because of our road conditions. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to announce this new allocation of $2 billion. So the REACH program effectively is now at $5 billion. This latest allocation is strictly at the direction of the NWA and Cabinet, and we expect to mobilize and begin work immediately. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Prime Minister, thank you so much. And as I said, ladies and gentlemen, how we have dealt with this matter really is a blueprint for good governance, having involved not just all of government, but certainly all of our communities across Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, the work now begins. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, and we'll see you at another point from the Office of the Prime Minister. Good morning.